But speaking of exposing things, here we go again. People claim to be Aboriginal when there is no official evidence to support that claim. This time, it's Labor's Gordon Reid, one of the record 11 federal politicians in a parliament who say they are Aboriginal, including the equally pale Jackie Lambie. Reid is from the New South Wales seat of Robertson. He's been very keen to declare this Aboriginality of his that no stranger would guess by just looking at him, like in his maiden speech to Parliament.
I'm so proud of my Aboriginal heritage and couldn't be prouder of the incredible role that my nan plays in our local community as a strong female Indigenous elder.
Reid has often made the same claim, like on the ABC, on Sky News. He was angry when opposition leader Peter Dutton asked whether The Voice, Labor's planned Aboriginal-only advisory parliament, would have rules about who actually qualified as Aboriginal to be able to sit on it.
One of Peter Dutton's questions on The Voice has been, is there going to be a definition of Aboriginal in terms of who can be on The Voice? What do you make of that?
Oh, I'd say that's insulting. This is an issue that's extremely close to home. My grandmother, a Wiradjuri woman, a proud Minguleta elder on the New South Wales Central Coast. My dad, a proud Wiradjuri man, and myself.
Yeah, too right. It's very close to home. You see, the problem is that Gordon Reid, like so many other prominent Australians making a fuss about their Aboriginality now, turns out to have an official family tree that doesn't mention a single Aboriginal ancestor. Nothing there at all to show that his grandmother is Aboriginal, which suggests then that Reid couldn't be either. And those are the findings of professional genealogists of the darkemuexposed.org website, who used birth records, death records, and newspaper clippings to put together this family tree for him. No Aboriginal ancestor. Sure, mistakes could have been made. I mean, as Dark Emu Exposed points out, their work is based on public records, and that, of course, wouldn't include unrecorded ancestry. But then again, Dark Emu Exposed does think it got every name and wrote to Reid asking him to point out if they'd somehow overlooked an Aborigine in his family. No answer. So on Saturday, I wrote to Reid asking him to name his Aboriginal apical ancestor. That's the ancestor who was the first Aborigine in this case to enter his family tree, the first. And could he show me the evidence? Well, I didn't get an answer either, not to my questions. But on Monday, Reid had his grandmother actually come to Parliament to watch him give this speech, and Reid's staff told me to watch.
My grandmother, Auntie Robin, who my community hears me speak so fondly and frequently, is a proud Aboriginal Minguleta elder and a woman of Wiradjuri descent, and she sits up in the Speaker's Gallery up there today. I am proud of my Aboriginal heritage, and desire to strip someone of this pride is something that I will never understand. I am of Wiradjuri heritage, I am of the Minguleta community, I am Aboriginal, my family is Aboriginal, and we are proud.
Fine, he's proud. But, as you can tell, no evidence forthcoming there either for his claim to be Aboriginal. No sign that, we, Dark Emu Exposed, made a mistake. And let me explain to Reid why truth about Aboriginal ancestry, truth and proof, actually does matter, whatever his mortified pride. Aboriginal groups are now getting angry that fake Aborigines are taking jobs and prizes and grants and medical services and handouts and scholarships and power from real Aborigines, and they are now calling this out.
If we were to look at the census numbers, it's now projecting past 800,000. If there was to be, an actual review on that and an audit on that, I would suggest, and there has been some data to suggest that it's actually probably about 300,000 less. So we've got 300,000 people here who are counting themselves amongst us. I think this is something that Australians really do need to start asking ourselves, really start looking, and am I qualified to be able? Otherwise, it's just going to erase Aboriginal persons.
People are growing rich on our misery.
Now, I thought that 300,000 fake Aborigines was an exaggeration. I thought the real number of fakes was closer to 130,000. That's the number of Australians who suddenly claimed to be Aboriginal in the past two censuses, but hadn't in the census before that. maybe I'm too naive, because I've since been astonished by the number of even prominent people now who darkemuexposed.org has so far exposed. Now, there was Professor Bruce Pascoe, of course, Professor Auntie Kerry Doyle as well, who claims to come from something called the Wininini tribe that I can't find any record of. They even found that South Australia's Aboriginal Attorney General, Kyan Ma, didn't actually seem to have any Aborigines at all in his official family tree, and now he won't explain why.
Are you going to respond to those challenges?
No, I'm not, David.
You're not going to?
No.
You're not going to dignify them?
Absolutely not.
Are you going to sue?
I'm just not going to dignify some of the... And it has been exceptionally disappointing, some of the things that... And in a whole range of areas, we've seen some of this debate descend into, and I know it's a topic that you've brought up before, David, and is it really worth it if we're going to see some of the commentary we hear as part of this? And I think it actually is worth it.
And there's others I may mention later, but now there's Gordon Reid, who last weekend was at the Garma Festival in Arnhem Land doing an Aboriginal dance and helping the Albanese government push the voice that he says is good for Aborigines. But which Aborigines does he mean? Aborigines like him?